It's early in the morning, and today I have the audacity to shoot 3 cameras, one of which being this large format.
Here in 2025, we have a problem that other photographers in the past didn't exactly have. Choice. Especially choice between the different formats. When going big, like shooting large format, your choices get slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And if you want to shoot the same film stock in all different formats, forget about it. But what if I told you there was a film in all formats and in different film speeds and it was cheap? Would you believe me? Well, today we shoot Arista. So let's go to Arizona and find out what makes this film so special in today's market.
The thing about large formats, the more you do, the more it becomes easy to set up.
Now, the films in question are Arista 100 and Arista 400. Black and white beauties coming in at a very, very great price. And that right there is the big deal in today's descent into madness. So in today's episode, we're gonna explore both those film stocks against each other in all the different formats that I could get my grubby little hands on.
Bring up 9.5 at 400.
Now, Arista does come in a 200 speed variant as well, but ya boy can't do everything at the same time. So I thought I'd go with the 2 extremes. Now, entering in today's early morning, I thought I decided to start out strong, even if my coffee intake wasn't. Right off the bat, I'd be shooting these 2 films in 3 formats, and we would go big first.
Maybe I should turn to 9.5 first. There we go. And boom. Cool. Okay. Don't mind if I do. Boom. Man, shooting this is like 1,000 times easier than shooting a large format. Oh my God, what am I doing to myself, you know?
Well, besides that dirty ass negative, this shot is mid as hell. So let's just move on. It's actually not until I moved to the opposite side of the tortilla factory where I actually like some of my shots, which I only took in 35mm. Not bad though. And after the first few images on 35, I must admit that the 400 speed is holding its own, especially in the PNS point shoot. Now, I won't bury the lead any longer. In 35mm, the price comes out to be $6.79, and in 120, $6.49. And here, the real deal is in 4x5 at a whopping $45 to $48 for 25 sheets of film. Now, if you don't know anything about 4x5 or large format, let me break it down to you for things to be real simple. It's expensive. The process is next level and so enjoyable, but that price can creep up there. That's why Arista coming in at these prices are a really good deal, especially if you want to get started in that lush large format.
You notice how sometimes when you're doing cable releases in the little thing, they should just don't take that off ever. Like, why make it removable? It hurts, it's pokey. It's like the worst thing. Ah, that hurts. I'm gonna be bleeding by the end of this.
Definitely a solid image in both 1 and a 400 variants. But interesting enough, the 400 looks like it's a bit fogged though. Another weird factor is that the 120 shot seems to have a bit of texture in the sky, which is quite odd. But the 35mm is definitely shining pretty and bright. That building in the background looks great. Sharp and good shadow retention. And that's in 35mm.
Ooh, that might have to be next. Cool. Let's do 500. Not open. Let's do 500 at 16. Ow.
Wow, lovely brick detail for days. Low grain, This Arista 100 is shining like a diamond. Honestly, one of my favorite images so far. The medium format is still confusing me a bit, however, since it still has that weird texture in the sky. However, I have seen this texture in the past with this camera. When I bought it back in the day, it actually came with an expired roll of film inside of it from eBay, and I developed that. So let's keep our eyes peeled. Now back to the 400 speed Arista. In large format, the image seems to be fogged again. I wonder if this is something that I'm doing or not. Earlier in this trip, the 400 shots turned out okay, so I'm not quite sure what is going on here. Maybe I'm losing my mojo?
So the one thing I forgot is that the 35mm does not have a DX code on it, specifically this version. So that means I'm actually shooting everything at 100 in my Yashica. So it's not really a fair comparison. I didn't think about that when I decided to do this episode and bring Yashicas. I'm sure it's gonna be fine. And it's a good testament to the latitude actually on the film.
Yeah, that's definitely one more ding for me on this episode. However, it is quite good to know that this film is capable of great highlight retention and holds up for a budget film.
It's actually gonna be a really good test because it's so bright.
Honestly, it does quite well. The grain is pretty supple for 400 speed ISO and 35, and it feels like it might just have a slight bloom quality to the highlights, but I did nuke them about 2 stops. But maybe that's the move? I did, however, notice in this comparison between the two smaller formats that when the film is rated as at normal speed of 400, the highlights are quite dull and end up standing out a bit more with the overexposed shots. So yeah, maybe that is the move.
Let's see. Okay, we got a little bit of swing, a little bit of tilt action going on to kind of get all that in focus a little bit more. Oh, F22 at 500, okay.
Damn, another 400 4x5 shot fogged. So after combing through my footage, I think what might be happening is, for some reason, this day I decided to leave the Graphmatic back dark slide out when taking a photo instead of pushing it back in, like I've done ever since the beginning of time. So my guess is that that's actually the culprit and is weirdly fogging the film. Right, well, put it in when shooting then, why don't you? I should watch my phrasing. Now, after both Jason and I were shooting in this morning sunlight, we decided to pop back to the hotel and unload whatever we shot. And your boy was feeling loopy.
So 4x5 sheet film has different notch coatings on your film, right? Individual films have different codes. And the thing I've noticed is that Arista 400 and Arista 100 have the same notch code, the exact same notch code, right? So if you're wanting to know which one was which, you can't like intermix them. Anyway, I don't know. That's just me at 8:30 in the morning, slightly delirious, chatting to the camera.
And after I was done rambling away while putting my hands into the second darkest part of that hotel room, Jason and I decided to catch up on a little rest since we ain't morning people. But while I sleep, let's take a little detour and try to find out why my Arista 400 shots in 120 are acting up. And that involves another camera and another batch of film. Now, I ended up taking these photos at some random kid's birthday party while creeping around in some sort of park. But other than the weird looks that I got from being there, the film didn't actually seem to be weird at all. It performs actually quite well. So let's just call that original roll in Arizona a quirky outlier. Now, back in Arizona, we had some more work to be done. Well, I had some more work. I left Jason to sleep in the hotel. Our little baby needs his 12 hours rest. Now, starting out at this new location, I decided to pop off 2 4x5 shots. And here, this 400 ISO shot actually turned out quite well. Finally, Caleb. Maybe things are looking up for me after all. Overall, these shots are quite nice, and the main difference is mostly due to the grain structure. 400 is coming in and showing off its extra nature, whereas 100 is pretty clean. Over these years, I really haven't seen 400 speed 4x5 film look this grainy. Usually 400 is pretty grainless in this large of a format, but I really like that it's pretty grainy. It's different than what you'll usually see in other films. Exploring this motel was exciting. It was weirdly pristine, yet desolate. And I love all these different carports. You definitely don't see that in today's motel landscape.
I hope there's nothing living under there. And, so the problem that I just arose is that I was looking at ISO 400 and not 100. So it's gonna be 2 stops underexposed. But that might be a good test. So to you, Caleb, in the future, test this. This is the test. Can it be 2 stops under and can it come back? I'm gonna do it as it is.
Interesting enough, other than the fact that one format is giant, tonally the 4x5 medium format fits right in with all the others. It's the 35mm that feels a little bit different. Kind of like the camera was giving the film a little bit more light. I guess I probably should have brought a 35mm that I could control in every aspect, but to be fair, this T3 fits in my butt and I couldn't add another camera around my neck. I just couldn't. But if I were to pick one as a favorite, I think the 120 takes the cake. I like that it had a little bit more of the frame in focus and that it was actually taken lower than my Intrepid. It feels a little bit more dramatic. Now, when looking up this film on the big World Wide Web, one thing that comes up right away is that this film is rumored to be FOMA, which has a cult following. People swear by it, and I really happen to love their Ortho 400 film. So whether it's true or not, either way, I think people win.
Let's test it. Perfect. Now, we go for the gold.
But this last large format shot here might be my favorite composition of the lot. However, if I'm honest with myself again, the 120 frame is my favorite of the few. And again, it's because of the lower angle that camera naturally shoots at. That's some abandoned art for you.
I have to say, this was a really, really awesome location. But let's get back to the car.
But since it was 12 at this point, I had to check out of this hotel. So after Jason woke up, we hit the road to our next location here in blistering Arizona. And while I'm out here snapping away, I wanted to mention today's sponsor, Freestyle Photo, the one who is actually responsible for bringing this film to the market for such a good price. Freestyle has been keeping this film journey alive for nearly 80 years, since 1946. That's decades of helping photographers, students, and darkroom lovers alike get the gear that they need to make their vision happen. Whatever format you shoot, they've got it. They're always hunting for new films and new products to keep their shelves fresh. Printing? They've got you covered. Darkroom, inkjet, you name it. Freestyle exists to keep the film in the hands for people who love it the most. So whether or not you pick up your first camera or you've been shooting for decades now, they got what you need to keep your film journey rolling. Hit the link in the description box below and check out them online or at their LA location. All right, back to the comparisons.
Meow. You're so cute. I know, you're a cutie. Okay.
Now, I was quite over carrying my large format camera around consistently, so I decided to walk around with just my Yashicas. I thought giving my back a little bit of a break would be a good thing. And overall, these 35mm images are quite nice. And really, this Arista Ultra film has a lot of flexibility in post to give you the image that you want. But it was also here that I noticed a few shots of the 100 had the same texture as the 400. It's not as pronounced, but it was still slightly there. And after all the investigation from earlier, I think it might just have been the heat plus my camera. But regardless of all those imperfections or just my own malpractice, one thing is always clear when talking about budget films, and that's generally the quality control or just the imperfections overall that those films can have. But they do serve a good cross-section of photographers. Anyone who might need to toss some rolls back for testing, or students wanting to learn the process, or for just plain fun. So yeah, Arista might be cheap, but it's versatile, high quality for the price, and available in every format. And that's what makes this film special. And like I've said before, it really shines in 4x5. Like I said earlier, large format is not a cheap thing to get into. So having a super affordable film to cut your teeth on is just so fantastic. Overall, I think 100 is just solid at box speed, and maybe the better of the two. But if you get 400, I think giving it a little bit more light will really make it shine. Those highlights will look a little bit better. Also, I can't forget to mention that Arista EDU Ultra is just this line of film. They actually have a different line of films that's called Arista DX, which I am quite fond of. Separate films, different packaging, different films. Well, that'll do for me today. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever shot any of these films before, and if this is making you want to go big, big, big with some large format film. So until next time, why don't you go out there and shoot some film, why don't you? Bye!